Did we interfere with you, Yann? Oh, yeah.
You walked in the joint, I could tell you were a man of distinction, a real big standard, good looking, so refined. Hey, wouldn't you like to know what's going on in my mind? So let me get right to the point. I don't pop my cork for everyone I see. Hey, big spender, spend a little time with me. About a few laughs, 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 I can show you a good time. So let me get right to the point. I don't pop my cork for everyone I see. Hey, big spenders! Hey, big spenders! Hey, big spenders! Spend a little time with me. Our MC this afternoon is a gentleman who usually can be found cruising at 30,000 feet. But this handsome, bon vivant, and honorary gay caballero today is a neighbor and friend of Alan and Nigel, our Master of Ceremonies, Captain Bruce.
Did you actually read that dress with you?
Thank you. Don't touch that? Don't touch that. All right.
Don't touch that button.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. United together. Flight 1. First class service to happiness, friendship, and love. Today we'll be flying at a, no, we're not be flying, we're going to be cruising today at 39,000 feet. We have any cruisers here? Oh, cruisers! Get ready for crying out loud. Come on! We have any more cruisers? Outstanding. We're flying at, cruising at 39,000 feet. And our flight time will be here approximately 1 hour before dinner. So 1 hour, and we're flying back in time is what we'll be doing, to Nigel and Alan's past, in which we'll have wonderful music by the lovely Kike and Jason. And stories by the original cast members who were there when it all happened. They're here today. Now, I'd like to remind the cast members that you were limited to 3 minutes. You may go over just a little bit, but 3 minutes is what we're looking for. Otherwise, we'll have to enter into a holding pattern in which we will run out of fuel and die a fiery death. So you do what you need to do, but just let that be known behind us. Right now, I just want you to know, serving us in the back today is the lovely Glinda, the Good Witch. She is on loan from MGM Studios in Los Angeles, She is a required crew member according to the FAA, so you must follow
I came in my
her.
bubble.
I'm sorry?
I came in my bubble.
She came in her bubble. I'm sorry. But she is a required, she came in her bubble, and she's a required crew member, so you must follow all directions from Glinda, the Good Witch.
Glinda or Glinda?
Well, they haven't quite closed the cargo doors yet, so we want to do a couple of acknowledgments before we proceed forward with this. And first of all, we want to thank all the people that came from long distances to arrive here today to be on board. I don't know, probably all of you or most of you know this, but a couple of years ago, Alan reunited with his birth parents. His birth mother Joan is here with her husband Paul. Okay. And his birth father Matt is here with his longtime companion Marjorie. And his brother Peter is here with his new bride Jamie, by the way. Go ahead. By the way, they just got married less than a year, and Nigel and Alan were able to attend their wedding back in St. Augustine, Florida. So let's give them a hand for creating Alan, for if they didn't do it, he wouldn't be here, then we wouldn't be here. Okay, other folks we're going to have to acknowledge. Gary from Portland. He's one of Alan's closest friends. There he is. Accountant. He's been retired for some time. He spends about 6 hours a day at the gym, they tell me. And so, if you were wondering who the guy was running around the back doing Pilates and lifting weights during the ceremony, that was Gary. We also from Washington D.C. we have Bobby and Mark. Bobby is Alan's aunt in some. Where is it? Oh, there you are! Yay! Alan told me about 3 or 4 times how she was not in the second level and the third, fourth, and the fifth, and you need some kind of enigma machine to figure it out, or be an analytical mind, but I can't work it out. But they are related somehow, somewhere. If you want to ask them, that's really you. We have an entire Australia contingent. 13 hours on an airplane. Can you believe these people? They're staying at our house. They're just spectacular. Nina is one of Nigel's closest friends from Sydney early on. She was actually, initially, she was telling me she was a journalist and moved on later to become a holistic therapist and healer. And her husband John, he's a wonderful guy. Look at this big guy, he's terrific. He's got a big wide smile. And you know what John is? He's a man's man. No, check that. He's an Aussie's Aussie. He speaks a special language that he calls English. You can try to understand him and you'll get most of it. And if you don't, the stuff you don't understand, just smile and nod or ask him to speak slower. We're working on the company to do subtitles for his next visit. Also from Australia, we have Michelle, who is a co-worker of Nigel's back in, where's Michelle? There she is. She's also operating on the audio-video equipment. Co-worker of Nigel's back in HP, back when they were back in Johannesburg in South Africa. They were, I think, both upper-level type people, and then she went off to another country, and Nigel went off to Australia, and later on Nigel said, hey, I got this really great penthouse in Sydney. And it has a spare room. Come down and visit sometime. She said, sure, I'd love to do that. So she came down, and this penthouse was overlooking Sydney Harbor. It was spectacular. And she loved it. She would drink martinis and look over the water, and she would stay for a week, and then she stayed for 2 weeks, and then she stayed for 3 and 4, and then she stayed for a month, and then she stayed for 2 months, and then she stayed for 3 months, and then finally, Nigel mentioned it might be time to go forward. You're always welcome to go forward. Well, Michelle's no stranger to work, so she went forward right away and she said, I love this place. And so she actually worked her way to be an Australian citizen. She found herself a wonderful guy afterwards, and Steve is not with us, her husband, but they did have a beautiful daughter, Natalie. Where's Natalie? Oh, there she is. Natalie, you want to talk manners for a 10-year-old? Better than mine. This kid's got manners. She's a great kid. And what's that? She's not your goddaughter, is she?
Yeah.
And she's Nigel's goddaughter on top of that. That's spectacular. Also welcome Susan. Susan is a co-worker of Alan's when he first came to Sydney in 2001. Where's Susan? I almost threw her out earlier. I'm glad you guys did. And they worked their first project when Alan came to Sydney. They worked the first project together, and they worked other projects and other projects. They got closer and closer and closer, and apparently close enough that she's going to buy a ticket to come to San Francisco to Alan's wedding. And so they're very close, and we appreciate you coming all this way. Now you can see this handsome lad running around all over the place from Copenhagen. It's Yann. They were actually introduced at a spiritualist center in San Francisco in the Castro district, where they all frequent. And Yann was there, and he has many talents. And one of the talents that he has is photography. And so he'll be taking images and videos. And so give him a warm smile whenever you see Yann. We're almost done. Faye from South Africa. Faye is where's Faye? There you are. We haven't met you, but I know all about you. According to the gentleman, you are an American wannabe that comes out of here once a year and goes up to Shasta. For those of you who don't know, Shasta is about 4 hours north of here. There's a huge mountain about 14,000 feet and a wonderful lake and beautiful trees. And she has a spiritual place that she goes once a year when she comes out here. She's actually owns a taxi company back in South Africa in Durban. So the boys, they're telling me that you should sell that, and we should look at something called Phased Shasta Taxi, and then you can just stay here. How about that, okay? All right, and last but not least, Louise. Louise is special. She's very unique, very special. One of my very favorites. You'll know you met Louise at some point. Came all the way from Madagascar is where she's living right now. Americans, that's where the cartoon came from. All right. Anyway, she lives in Madagascar, and she is on the council there, kind of an equivalent, like an ambassador, but on the Madagascar side, even though she's South African, to South Africa, where she promotes trade between the two places. And she's a self-proclaimed, I said, children's island goddess extraordinaire. Is that her staff loves her. She was just telling me how she was training them how to bow and curtsy every time they come into her office. Back in the office. Well, a big round of applause for all those distant travelers and the rest of you, the locals like me, who appreciate being here. Thank you all for coming. My customer service representative has told me that the baggage area is full and the cargo doors are closed, that we're ready for departure. So what I'm going to ask everybody to do is to buckle in, strap up, because it's going to be a wild ride.
Okay. There we are. Oops. Right? This is... Okay. Singer killing me. Okay. All right. Oh my God.
When I was young, my father me I'll never forget until my dying day. He said, son, you are a bachelor boy, and that's the way to stay. Son, you be a bachelor boy until your dying day.
Sorry about me.
When I was 16, I fell in love with a boy as sweet as can be. Then I remembered my father said, what he said to me? He said, son, you are a bachelor boy, and that's the way to stay. Son, you be a bachelor boy until your dying day. As time goes by, I probably will meet a man and fall in love, and we'll get married, have a couple of cats, and there'll be my turn. But until then, I'll be a bachelor boy, and that's the way I'll stay. Happy to be a bachelor boy until my dying day.
Wow.
Tell us the order. I'm all tingly now.
All right, we have Louise, for those of you who didn't remember, she's from Madagascar. And then we also be having Gary following her to have a few comments. This is one of Alan's old friends.
Oh, do you want the stand?
No, I'm enough already. Oh!
Okay, good. Bruce, you better practice your curtsy a little.
Problem.
You can take my shoes off. Better? Yeah, stand closer. Okay. Nigel, Alan, and friends, good evening. My official title is the Honorary Consul to Madagascar, and I should be addressed as Your Excellency. Among other titles, I am also known as the Island Goddess, believe it or not. I even have names for different parts of my body, given to me by Nigel and Alan. But the title I am most proud and honoured to wear today is Chief Groomsmaid Extraordinaire. Wow, how to put a lifetime and magical friendship into 3 minutes. I shall begin in the spirit of all beautiful stories. Once upon a time, in deepest, darkest Africa, under the twinkling stars, a precious little boy was born. Some things don't change. Nigel was born in Tanganyika and came to South Africa when he was a young boy with his parents, Barry and Meta. He made his parents very proud of him with his academic ability, his entrepreneurship when he started his first company, his handyman abilities, and his good looks. Meta always reminds me how good looking and handsome he is, and don't we all agree with her? Water plays a special role in Nigel's life. There was great excitement taking out his yacht for the first time in Durban Harbour. Exciting, yes, but it also turned out to be nerve-wracking. As we left the mooring, we beached straight onto a sandbank. And this was before any champagne. After rocking ourselves off, we headed out into the harbour, only to be met by huge container ships bearing down upon us, while all of us crew yelled instructions as to who had right of way. In my opinion, there was not much of an option. Some of the adventures we've travelled together include rafting trips down the Orange River, trips to China, where he was nearly mobbed buying me a coat, and the police had to rescue him. Then there was snow skiing in running shoes. In Thailand, I insisted we rode on elephants, which was extremely uncomfortable and very smelly. He got his revenge back shortly afterwards when we were at Club Med, and this little man in pink shorts insisted on dancing with me all evening, and he would not rescue me. Australia called, so Nigel sold his business, packed his bags, and headed off down under. This was after a wonderful farewell party where he blew up the bottom of my garden with a homemade bomb. It was designed to create a spectacular effect. However, the result was spectacular destruction. Hiring a camper van, he travelled around Australia, and when he was ready, he telephoned to say he was settling down in Sydney and starting a new life. An email arrived a short while later saying he'd fallen in love. Shortly after that, Alan moved in. 2 cats followed, completing their new home and new life together. What a delight it was to meet Alan, and how graciously he has accepted me into the fold. I appreciate this very much. So the original friendship has now become a trio. Now, I have to explain to you why I'm holding this magnificent looking animal. Lobola is an extremely important African tribal wedding tradition. Cattle are paid from one party to the other. Once this is done, the relationship is honored. And I thought it would be apt to carry on this tradition in San Francisco. I present you, Alan, with this handsome beast, which now means you are officially part of the family. I wish you and Nigel happiness and a wonderful and blessed life together. And in the spirit of all beautiful stories, may you live happily ever after.
Gary?
I'm Gary, and over this weekend I have often been introduced as Alan's oldest friend. And I'm starting to take a bit of umbrage with that. I may have known him the longest, but I'm sure he has friends that are older than I am. But I'm from Portland, Oregon, and I met Alan in 1996 when he was living in Portland doing a consulting engagement for, I believe, US Bank. And we met at the gym. And I was going through a very rough time at work, and I was working hundreds of hours a week, but I always made time to go to the gym before I went to the office for work. So in the morning I would go in and I would run, and then when I'd come back into the gym, I would see this young man, and he was new to my gym, so obviously he kind of stood out. And the thing that impressed me most...
He was cute.
Well, no, that was second. The thing that impressed me most was that he was so flexible, he could literally do the splits. Well, I don't know about you, but that impressed the hell out of me when I saw this young man. So, I forced myself to strike up a conversation with him, say, oh, who are you? Hello, I'm, So we got to talking, and we just kind of got to know each other a little bit, but being consultant, his company would send him wherever he wanted to go every weekend, which for most people was back to home. So at that time he had a house in Detroit, in which he was sharing with another couple. And he would occasionally go back to Detroit, but most of the time he would fly to all these great places for the weekend, and then he'd come back into town. But one weekend, he was staying in Portland, and we decided we were going to get together. And we would, just go do something. Well, that particular weekend was the Newport Wine and Seafood Festival. Newport, Oregon. But we still thought, okay, this is probably going to be pretty classy, you know, so we decided that we would go out and partake of the, the wine and the seafood at this festival. Well, I still didn't know Alan very well at that point in time, but one of the things I had discovered was that he was very, very religious, because he was asking me that he was looking for a church that he could join in Portland. He was asking me? Well, that was his first mistake. I mean, but he was very interested in finding a church family, and because he wanted to have some place when he was in Portland that he could go to church and meet these people, and so I was helping him with that. But to say he was a bit of a goody two-shoes, right on, that was Alan. He was very, very straight, very proper, very religious, and well, we decided to go to this wine and seafood festival. It was about a 2.5-hour drive from Portland, I think, and we went out there thinking, oh, what a nice, classy event this is going to be. Well, it was in a tent that they had erected in the parking lot. And Newport, Oregon is a short drive from Eugene, Oregon, where the University of Oregon is located. So this Wine and Cheese Festival turned out to be just a gigantic frat party. So all of these college students are there, and Alan and I are walking through, and we're you know, looking at the little tables the merchants had set up and everything, and we're walking around, and at 22 they're all cute. What are you talking about? But every once in a while we would hear this cheer from people yelling and screaming, and we couldn't figure out what was going on. Why were these people just suddenly cheering? And it was sporadic. There was no rhyme, no reason to it. And it took us a while to finally figure out that whenever one of the college students would drop their glass, and they were using glass, they weren't using plastic, they would drop the glass because they were so drunk, the crowd would cheer because they dropped their glass. So anyway, we had a little bit of wine. Well, actually, Alan, I think, had half a glass of wine, which I realized was his lemon. Now, picture, those of you who know him today, half a glass was his lemon. I think I carried him back to the car, literally. We had to get back to the car, and it took a long time to get back to the car, because he was a bit tipsy after a half glass of wine. I know! That was a mistake. Anyway, so when I first met Alan, he was a very naive, young man who had no vices, very, very nice young man. Now, later in tonight's, I will compare that to the next time I met Alan after he had moved. Because one of the things he always talked about when we were there in Portland was how much he loved Australia. He had been in Australia on a consulting engagement prior to coming to Portland, and that was all he could talk about. Well, I'd never been to Australia, so I was gaga over the fact he had lived there. But that was all he could talk about. So eventually I knew when he left that eventually he was going to get left. So that's the next part.
Behind you. There you're standing up. Okay. All right. Yes. Okay. All right. Searching on the internet, watching all the boys go by. Searching on the internet, watching all the guys go by. Well, you don't know a nicer occupation. Matter of fact, neither do I. Then searching on the internet, watching all the guys, watching all the guys, watching all the guys go by. I'm the cat that got the cream. Haven't got a guy, but I can dream. Haven't got a guy, but I can wish. So fabulousguys.com, where I select my imaginary dish. Searching on the internet, watching all the guys go by. Searching on the internet, watching all the guys go by. Brother, if you've got a wild imagination, give it a whirl, give it a try. Try searching on the internet, watching all the guys, watching all the guys, watching all the guys go by.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I am Nina and I'm Nigel's German Australian Gabby. And Gabby is a close female friend, according to German gays. There are many of us here actually, but I'm the German Aussie one. I met Nigel in 1998 at a launch of a candle shop in the center of Sydney. We set eyes upon each other and we knew. Except, before we ended up going out for dinner, and that was pretty soon after, he said, don't get any ideas, I'm gay. I didn't get any ideas. How is it? I don't understand anybody who's got it. How can anybody have such unshakable belief in his own sex appeal? Trying to be open and transparent, because unshakable belief in something is something that Nigel displays a lot. In people, in causes, in... Hang on, am I on the right page? Yes. Being open, transparent in whatever he does is another thing is something that Nigel always does. He's the most loyal friend anyone can wish for. He has got a huge heart and an enormous capacity for friends and friendship, loyalty and love. When Nigel meets somebody he likes, we all know what happens. He's interested in you, he gives, he shares, he challenges you, and he stirs things up for you.
Yeah, baby.
Nigel and I would regularly do the 7-kilometer bay walk in Sydney. We would talk about everything, and afterwards I would feel totally renewed. My problems had shrunk, obstacles looked manageable, my cobwebs were removed. And if my feet were sore, he would give me his hobby damp and smelly socks. This international crusader came to Australia and started afresh 15 years ago from South Africa, just like he started afresh here in San Francisco less than 12 months ago. When I met Nigel first, he had just traversed down under, like Louise told us, in a camper van all by himself. Whilst professionally reinventing himself, he waited for his off-the-plan bought Sydney condo to be built. By the way, it was his sense of the perfect power spot that helped him choose the location of the top floor unit in Birkenhead Point. Amazing how many happy memories these walls hold now, don't they?
Oh yeah.
Yes. We all here know Nigel never, ever, ever does things by half. He senses himself into a new continent, terrain, place to live. When he checks out the territory and explores everything and everyone it has to offer inch by inch. I'm sure Nigel knows Australia better than any Aussie.
John is that wonderful Aussie who was telling about you. We'll understand most of what he's saying. He's married to the lovely Nina, and he has a few words.
Go, John, yeah. Big John.
Big John.
Big John. Take it up, John. We always love some good boys.
G'day. I'm from down under. And wasn't it great today to be here at this wonderful ceremony? Because wasn't it fantastic? Do you know something? It's wonderful being in San Francisco when the America's Cup's on. Because 30 years ago, this month, we little Aussies knocked off the Americans in the America's Cup. Something that held for 100 years before, and yet we did it. Mind you, we've never done it since, but the fact is we did it at a critical time. The celebration will be big in Australia because they declared a public holiday the day after. And why is that significant? Well, look where we are. A yacht club. A yacht club with a wonderful background. And take it one step further. What did Nigel and Alan have in Australia? A yacht. Very symbiotic. Very close. Now, I'm a country guy. I was born in the country of New South Wales, probably a bit like your Wild West out here. In the 50s and 60s, went to school, went to university, the country university. There was probably 200 guys in my college. And as Marshall will tell me statistically, on that average, there should be probably about 10 gays. I had never met a gay. I had never met a gay until my life changed 14 years ago. And the background behind that is that my darling wife Nina, in search of a good person, placed an advertisement. And I was one of 57 respondees. And I thought I was doing well. And one day I came to her home and I turned up, and there at her home was this suave, intelligent, super cool, good-looking young fella that had a great sense of humour, and I struck up an immediate conversation with her. I thought, wow, this is really good. He's a really nice guy. So after a while he left, and you know, I'd only been going out with Nina for a little while, so I wasn't sure of my situation particularly. So I said, do I need to be worried about this guy? Is he, where is he fit? Oh, she said, no, that's Nigel. He's gay. I said, are you really sure he's not a closet straight? He looks like he could be. But I got to take some credit. I heard the lead in there. I got to take some credit because you see, Nigel obviously listened to the concept of the dating process in Australia, and he knew that clearly to go and find someone you had to go out and project yourself. Well, Nigel's never been frightened of projecting himself, as we know. So he did what I had done and what Nina had done, was advertise. But he's IT and tech savvy, so he just goes online and here's the result. A meeting at Alan. And, as I said, I hadn't really had much to do with gays at all in my life, but the most important thing I can say is that over time, Nigel and Alan were frequent visitors to our home with our heterosexual guests, and they just fitted in perfectly. And we saw a perfect example last Thursday evening with the wonderful street party that was put on. So they must be real givers to get the taking back that occurs to them. So I know that's an important integral part of their lives. One important aspect was that my nonagenarian mum came down from the country, and she happened to actually be down. We had a party on one day, but the preceding day she had a bit of a fall and damaged her eye and damaged her nose. Well, of course, the next day she comes out and meets Nigel, and Nigel takes her hand, and as Nigel is prone to do, engages fully in the conversation, says to her what's happened, and of course she lets the whole story go. So the night unfolds and we finish the evening, and the conversation with Nina goes something along this: wasn't that Nigel a wonderful young man? I really enjoyed his company. Nina says, yes, he was a great guy. Did I meet his partner tonight? Yes, you did. And Mum says, well, what was her name? Oh, her name was Alan. Oh yes, look, there's lovely weather coming tomorrow, and perhaps we can move on and do other things. But the remedy for that was a little bit later she came down again, and Nigel invited her to dinner at his place, which she accepted. Wonderful time, and thank you notes went everywhere. She was very gratified to meet you. Now just on Alan. Alan, I met him probably 12 years ago, just not long after Nigel met him. Well, what was he? Clean cut, well spoken, articulate, intelligent. All these words are here to describe him. But importantly, a guy who had a memory like an elephant. Whatever you do, if you're playing Trivia Pursuit, never get on the opposite team. He's the man for you. And he was also I'm bigger than you, Captain. Oh, man's mad. So I got 30 seconds. But he was a teetotaler, as was alluded to earlier. And of course, Nigel corrupted him. So what do we see now? We see not Alan, I think in your life, you provide Nigel with balance. You provide him with balance. When he says the wrong thing, you correct him. You drive him when he's had too much to drink. But importantly, you provide the wonderful balance with your meals. Nigel does the main course, and your pumpkin pies and very, very cheesecakes, something to behold.
Yeah.
One final word. Sorry, Captain. We're in a holding pattern. One final word. This would probably may not have occurred today, except for the fact that Nina and myself had made a booking to go overseas. And part of our booking was to come to San Francisco to see Nigel Allen for 5 days, and then we're going on. California changed its laws. They put the wedding on today to accommodate us, so we are the catalyst for your function. Sydney's loss is Alamanda's gain.
Those of you, Nina has a lot, and she has warm and deep thoughts about what's going on, and not to push you people off, but we'll also have a microphone at the end. And so when people are eating, you can have something to say and complete that, or whatever you want to say to Nigel and Alan. But as now, I'm just going to push you just to keep things going along, okay?
Gary. Go. Me again. Tippy toes. Massage it gently. Right there.
By now you should have an idea of what Alan was like pre-Nigel, and we've heard some stories about Nigel as being a definite influence. Well, in 2011, Alan had arranged to be working in Australia, and I went to visit him for my first trip to Australia. And Alan and Nigel had met 2 weeks prior to my arrival in Australia.
This is 2001.
Oh, 2001, sorry, yes, 2001. Yeah, let's see.
You're our
I
oldest.
always told you corrected things.
You're our oldest friend.
So, I arrive, and the first day I'm there, of course, I meet Nigel, and he grills me, absolutely grills me as to what my intentions are and why I'm there to visit, and are we sleeping in the same bed, you know, it's pretty intense. And I tried to assure him that we were just very, very good friends. Well, the second night we're there, we go to a party so that Alan can meet all of Nigel's friends, and as well as I can meet some of Nigel's friends. And we go to a restaurant where there is belly dancing. And don't believe any pictures you see. Do not. If they have pictures, don't believe them. But we went to this party, and there was a lovely lady there, Debbie. And in Australia, most of the restaurants don't have liquor licenses, so it's BYOB. So we went to a bottle shop, we bought our liquor, and we went in for the restaurant, carrying our own bottles. But we really didn't buy enough for what the group was drinking, to be quite honest. So Deborah, luckily, had plenty of wine. And I often have said that she had a wooden leg because she was sitting across the table from me, and every time we needed wine, she just reached down underneath the table between her legs and brought out a bottle of wine. It's like, where's this coming from? It's got to be a wooden leg. Well, we proceeded to drink and dance quite a bit that night. And actually, I think I was wearing a wig at some point in the evening. But John and Nina were there. And as you can tell by now, Nina is a very classy woman.
Yeah.
Yes. She defines the word class. Well, during the evening, John and I think we got pretty pissed. We were drunk. I mean, yeah.
Different way to find a class.
So, at some point in the evening, we decided we're getting ready to leave, and Alan's driving. This is based on pure stories they've told me because I don't really remember any of this. But I do remember sitting in the back seat of the car. Poor Nina was in the middle. John was on one side. I was on the other side. We were both drunk out of our minds. And at some point, I had my head on Nina's shoulder, and John had his head on the other shoulder. That's about all I remember about the trip back, except that the next morning, I wake up in a strange bed, naked, in a strange room, and I have no clue where I am, and there's nobody around. Where am I? Well, this was Nigel's townhouse, or penthouse, and I had never been there before because it was only my second night there. So I'm thinking, what the hell has Alan gotten into? Here's this sweet, naive young boy that I knew in Portland, and now I'm waking up in strange men's beds that I have no clue where I am. What is he?
Hello, by the way. Hello.
Alone! I was alone, but still. That was quite an experience. So, Nigel, I thank you for bringing out the other side of Alan for us to see.
You're welcome.
It's not that you're fairer than a lot of as a worshiper at your shrine. It's not that you're rarer than asparagus out of season. No, my darling, this is the reason why you've got to be mine. You'd be so nice to come home to. You'd be oh so nice by the fire, while the breeze on you sang a lullaby. You'd be all that I could desire. Under stars, chilled by the winter, under an August moon burning above. You'd be so nice, you'd be paradise to come home to and love. Under stars, chilled by the winter, under that August moon burning above. You'd be so nice, you'd be paradise to come home to come home to come home to and love.
Michelle is Nigel's old friend from, I gotta go saying old.
Long time.
All-time friend, long-time friend from Johannesburg.
Good evening, everyone. I'm a little more nervous than the others might appear. And a little less prepared, so it's not going to be quite so long. we may, you never know, I can ramble on as the best of us can do. As was mentioned earlier, it took me 4 months to move out of Nigel's penthouse. It was really comfortable. Very difficult to say goodbye to the view, but I couldn't afford to stay there, so it was probably just as well he kicked me out. And I kind of think of myself as keeping a place that sort of held Nigel at bay until he was ready again to hit the internet, meet Alan, because he met Alan the day after I moved out. So it was really fine timing. And 3 weeks later, I met my now husband. I think I probably cramped your style a fair bit. I met my husband 3 weeks later. We were all in our little love scenes, you know. Didn't see much of each other. We were courting, they were courting. A couple of dinners. Then they bought a boat and invited us on the boat. And I had just fallen pregnant, and we weren't telling anybody at the time. So it was unusual for me not to drink. It has always been unusual for me not to drink. So from that point of view, when they offered me a drink and I said, no thank you, I can't, Steve quickly offered, she's got woman troubles. And we knew, being guys, they would not ask any more questions. And they didn't. So that was our little secret for a while. But then I had this pregnancy from heaven and this birth from hell. And my gorgeous daughter is now here. She was worth every moment of it. But Nigel and Alan saw my husband through to sanity again. I had a terrible, terrible birth with my daughter. But they came off the boat, took my husband out for a nice hot curry, got him nicely souped up with some wine and heaven knows what else, and he arrived back and he was very happy again, which was great. He was celebrating the birth of our daughter instead of trying to stop me from dying. So that was really cool, and thank you for your support there. I can never thank you enough on that part. Sorry, my voice doesn't normally sound like this. I lost my voice earlier in the month. Early in the week, and I sort of still sound a bit gruff, but if it sounds sexy, then I'll buy that. So after all the support that Nigel has given us and Alan since we've met him and love him as well, we asked Nigel to be our godfather for the daughter and for our daughter. More because he's a very spiritual person, very grounded, always way out there as well. But the guidance and the spiritual guidance that he's given us has been outstanding. And we thank you for that. And unfortunately, you're so damn far away now, we're going to just try and Skype it if we can and sort of filter in there. We haven't been very good at doing that, but then I haven't really been much of a communicator outside. So we wish you all the best. My husband wishes he was here. I know he'd be really willing and able to stand up here and give you a good Aussie scream as well, but he's not, so such is life. But enjoy your evening, and thank you for this privilege of being here.
Well, on the waters of Sydney Harbour, you could often hear Alan and Nigel singing this tune.
World go you, where pirates all are well to do, but I'll be true to the song I sing and live and die a pirate king, for I am a pirate king, and it is a glorious thing to be a pirate king, for I am a pirate king. A glorious thing
do you want to?
We have two very close friends of Alan and Nigel's, Graham and I forgot the other name. Michael and Graham. Michael and Graham, who came out here and visited us here in San Francisco, and they were wonderful. And they're still back in Sydney, so they, instead of being here in person, they did a video for us. So Michelle, if you could run that, please.
Go back up one.
I did it twice.
Back up one. Back up one. Okay, down.
Everyone knows this stuff never works, right?
It never works.
It never works. There we go.
Oh, here we go. Good job, Michelle.
No, don't touch that one. Let's use the wind noise. Windy City.
Hi, Alan and Nigel. Here we are in Elton Park with Birkenhead Point right behind us, your apartment and marina, site of so many wonderful times that we spent together. This is a very, very special day for you, and while we're not there with you physically, believe me, we're there in spirit. We wish you all the very best in your continuing life together. We hope that you have a wonderful day celebrating with family and friends, and we look forward to seeing you in February when we're there for Alan's 50th. Congratulations and all the best.
Okay, who would have thought, Alan, that many years ago when we first met, that our friendship would evolve, and that many years later you'd be actually getting married in the US with your wonderful partner Nigel. I wish you the very, very best for the future, and much evolving friendship and love from us. And Dinky Di, hello from Australia. Congratulations. Action.
In life, friendship and food are very important, and we enjoy the best of it with Alan and Nigel. When I think back to some of those wonderful recipes that we shared, there was that absolutely gorgeous chickpea curry without the chickpeas, soup with cayenne pepper, just a little, and let's not even get onto the lamb cutlets. But most of all, I think Graham and I really remember how sometimes on a Sunday afternoon we'd be at home and we'd get a call and Nigel would say, come on over. So we'd walk across the Iron Cove Bridge and go to Birkenhead, and Nigel would cook up his famous and delicious marinara pizza. And those pizzas were really a metaphor for the way that Alan and Nigel live their life, which is to the fullest and without limit. Why stop at half a jar of minced garlic when you can put the whole lot on? Similarly, just whack on as much marinara mix. They were delicious, and those Sunday nights we missed so much. In actual fact, we've replicated it a little bit, and just to share tonight, there you go.
And who could forget those that crunchy hummus and those wonderfully inventive pitted chips, all their own original recipe. Bon appetit.
joy, such incredible joy that he has included me in his life. And not only that, he's brought along another son. So I got a 2-for-1 special coming up. And I can't tell you what it has meant to our whole family to have him and Nigel in our life, and how special they are and how much we love. And I don't think I can do anymore. Bye-bye.
Just take it off. Just take it off.
There you go. Just grab the mic.
Just grab the mic.
Grab the mic.
Hi, my name is Matt. I'm Alan's father. Joan was very young when she gave Alan up. And as people who have given up, I don't want to be too serious about this, but when you've given a child up for adoption, now and then you think about it, and you hope the person is happy and healthy. And back then, adopted children couldn't find out anything about their parents who gave them up for adoption. And over the years, the law changed, so an adopted child could find out information about his birth parents. And as time went by, I wondered if I was ever going to hear from someone in regards to this situation. And sure enough, about 3 years ago, I got a letter from the state of Maryland inquiring about this situation. I gave them my email, and Alan and I started corresponding by email. I tried to tell him everything about myself and my family that could be helpful to him in understanding his biological family. Then, I don't know, about 2.5 years ago, Alan was in New York, and Marjorie and I met him in there. We spent the afternoon together. We had lunch at the Hard Rock Cafe, of all places. We have a picture taken with a guitar in our hands, and it was quite an emotional meeting. Since then, Alan and Nigel were in Florida. Nigel's uncle, I believe, is in Miami. Then they went up from there to Joan she's east of Orlando. Then they went west of Orlando where Marjorie and I live, like it was nothing, and believe me, these are long distances. And we spent time together. Then the next time, Alan and Nigel came over for Peter and Jamie's wedding, and after that they stopped by our place in Lakeland, Florida. And at that time, Marjorie and I told them, if you guys ever get married, we want to be there. Little did we know what an extravaganza we were going to get involved with. Now, Joan and I met at the restaurant, Bona Vista, was that the name of it? The Friday night, for the first time in probably 48 years.
Wow.
And about 2 minutes into the conversation, we agreed that Alan was an absolute awesome son.
Yeah.
And we had absolutely nothing to do with his upbringing. Now, I thought I'd be the oldest person in the room and I was going to give some words of wisdom, but looking out, I'm not so sure. And I know Reverend Jim's got me by a couple. But speaking of age, Alan doesn't hide his age. On February 28th, he is going to be 50 years old. Yeah. And interestingly, my birthday is February 28th. I will be 72 the same day.
Wow.
The words of wisdom I was going to impart is when you have a child, you want them to be a good person. And I feel Alan is certainly that. and you want them to be happy. And seeing him with Nigel, I know that's also true. Thank you.
Kleenex.
You got another one? Went nothing, you want another one?
Good luck, Pete.
Let's hope this goes better than the rehearsal. I'm Alan's brother, Peter, and I've always known of him my whole life, and been very appreciative of him because there's a story from a long time ago that when one of my brothers was very ill, my Aunt Bobby helped find him to see if he could be an assistance to our, this is going to be sappy and I'm going to cry, so I'm just letting you guys know, to see if he could help with one of my first brother's illnesses. And she found him, and his parents asked him if he would agree to be tested, and he did, he agreed to. And it turned out that it wasn't a match, and that's okay, but ever since that moment, without ever knowing him, he's had a really special place in my heart. And for him to turn up a couple years ago and reach out to my mom was so special. And things went on, and they talked and communicated, and eventually it built up to this image here where he came to Florida to meet us for dinner. And you know, like 3 words come to mind. It was like, you know, curiosity, excitement, nervous. You know, I was curious to see what he was like, and I knew Nigel was coming and to see what they were like, and you know, excited to kind of meet the guy that I've always known about but never had in my life, and nervous to what he would think like us Florida hillbillies would be like when he got there. But photographic proof that all went pretty good. And I guess that would have been November. Stay away, Captain. That would have been November in 2011, and the following year, in October of 2012, I married my lovely wife Jamie, and Alan and Nigel came to my wedding. We invited them, and they were in the process of moving to the United States, and Nigel getting his green card, and as you all probably know, a very hectic time in their lives. And they came to my wedding, and were such integral parts of it. I don't think my rehearsal dinner would have happened without my brother and my aunt basically guiding me like a zombie through the day, and bartending and taking care of it. And then my wedding day rolled around, and I was ready to walk. My bride's at the top of the stairs, and all of my guests seemed to be scouring the sand dunes for something, not in their chairs. And I realized that they had lost a ring, and my coordinator approached me, very flustered, and I knew what happened. I was Joe Cool. I said, Dawn, what happened? You lose a ring? And she said, yeah. I said, which one? She said, yours. And I said, good, perfect, we can go. We have Jamie's ring, we're good. And all the guests were scrambling to find a replacement ring for the ceremony before my bride walked to me. And lo and behold, it ended up being my brother's ring. And it's one of the most special moments in my life ever. And I'll never forget it. And I'll just never forget it. And for what the two of you have meant to my mother and my father and myself and my wife, you're just very special people, and all of you that I've met are very, very special people, and now I consider as a part of my family and friends, and I'll cherish that forever. And thank you for making me a part of your special day. I love you both so much, and thank you.
Nigel never will forget the night they decided to move to the city by the bay. They never will forget the way the sun set, and they burst into song and sang and sang. San Francisco,
crash and it won't work out very well. Trust me, I've seen this before.
Oh, good.
That worries me.
One little mistake, they make you start all over. All right, San Francisco. So we want speakers Larry Duke, Karen Bola, the lovely Karen Bola. I don't know. And Reverend Jim, please come up here. And these are all current neighbors.
The party scene on Invincible Court was languishing. Nobody could come in for just a casual glass of wine or join us in a little flight down the coast for lunch. Everyone was too busy. About the best we could do was get together once a year, center court, just to get caught up. So we had this little event last year, 4th of July. And out walk our two new neighbors. Well, we took a look at them. They had bright eyes, welcoming smiles, a snazzy hat, a lovely accent, and we were charmed. Before that 2-hour event was through, Nigel and Alan had invited us over to look at their renovation plans. We'd loaned them proper glassware. We had them in for a glass of wine, and later that week, a flight down the coast for lunch. So, we know why you're all here. We understand why you have such great friends, wonderful family, who would travel, be it over the bridge or across the country or from around the globe, to be here on their wedding day to honor them. And we know that someday we're going to join your club, their loyal followers, and follow them, because they will leave Invincible Court. They are citizens of the world. And when they do, we'll be there for your next big event. But until they do, we're their neighbors, and we enjoy them immensely for what they bring to the party, both as a couple and individually. And we want to thank all of their friends and their family for sharing them with us.
next door to Nigel and Alan, and we were awaiting their arrival with bated breath the day that they moved in. I think my wife was looking out the window and she saw this Porsche pull up. And she said, "Our new neighbors, this is great." Well, it wasn't. Next thing we know, they pull up in this rental car packed full of luggage, and that's all. They had nothing else. They moved in, they didn't have chairs, they didn't have cooking utensils, they had absolutely nothing.
You didn't have a corkscrew.
You didn't. That's true. That's true. But the really great thing is we got to know them, we started talking to them, we invited them over to dinner that night, and proceeded to scatter food all over our kitchen floor, trying to cook them a nice dinner. But they were very tolerant of us, and loaned them some camping chairs, a table, and whatever they needed to get through until they got their furniture in. And then one day they showed up and they said, "We have this bottle of wine, we can't get it open." Oh, okay, so we couldn't get it open. So we said, okay, we have a corkscrew for you. But it was interesting because they looked at the corkscrew, they didn't know what the hell it was. What's this? They're so used to screw top. And I noticed that Nigel's hand is injured. They kept on trying to unscrew this. They were our type of people. We've enjoyed a number of bottles of wine with them, and enjoyed a lot of great evenings with them, and we couldn't ask for better neighbors. And our daughter is in love with Nigel. She's left because she's a little bit broken-hearted. First night they came to dinner, Alan showed up first, and Nigel was still over at their place, and she went out on the porch screaming, "Nigel! Nigel! Where are you? Nigel!" But anyway, we love them. They're the greatest people ever, and we couldn't ask for better friends.
Well, I met Reverend Nigel quite by coincidence. We just so happened to both be attending the California State Spiritualist Convention in Sunnyvale 2 years ago. And we just so happened to be sitting next to each other. And we were there attending the keynote speaker's speech. And she was speaking on the secret beyond the secret. Well, I want to tell you, by the time that old gal got through for 6.5 hours, the secret beyond the secret was still a secret. However, that speech served its purpose. It allowed Reverend Nigel and me to become acquainted. I explained that I attended the Spiritualist Center in San Francisco. I introduced him to Reverend Drew, our minister, and the upshot of the whole thing is that Reverend Drew and Alan have become members of Celebrate Life. They both serve on the board, and Alan is the board secretary. Now, I mentioned that Reverend Nigel and I met by coincidence. Well, we know that there are no coincidences. As spiritual beings, we know that all is in divine order. However, I'm not one to gossip. But I understand that there was this lady sitting at a bar, and she was sipping on a martini. And this fellow came in and sat next to her, and he ordered a martini. And she said, "Well, here I am, having a martini, and you come in and you order a martini. What a coincidence." He said, "Lady, I'm a chicken farmer, and for years my chickens have been unable to produce. Now all of a sudden they're producing, and I'm celebrating, and that's why I'm having a martini." She said, "What a coincidence." She said, "For years my husband and I have been trying to have a child, And she said, my gynecologist told me that I'm pregnant. And she said, I'm celebrating, and that's why I'm having a martini. She said, tell me, what did you do to get your hands to produce all of a sudden? He said, I changed cocks. She said, what a coincidence.
Just so you know, we have one more speaker after this song, one more speaker, and then we go on to Nigel and Alan, and then we're going to wrap this up and get something to eat pretty quick. Okay?
You're my best girls, and nothing you do is wrong. I'm proud you belong to me. And if a day's rough for me, having you there's enough for me. And if someday another kitty comes along, it won't take her long to see. Yet I can still be found just hanging around. My best girls, you're my best girls. You're soft and brave and strong. There's nothing you two can face. If you're with me, whatever comes, we'll see that trouble never comes. And if someday another kitty comes along, determined to take your place, I hope she's resigned to falling behind my best girls. And if someday when everything goes wrong, you're through with the human race, I'm running to be for you always be my best girl.
Let's come Glinda. Come on.
Go for it.
Oh, here comes Marshall.
Have you ever wondered what it was like to be sucker punched? Just now. These two young ladies, I'm going to completely forget my notes. These two young ladies are outstanding. This is Chi and Ming Su. She feels like a mink coat, and she is just a ball of fuzz. She goes everywhere and does everything. And I was supposed to talk with you about my special relationship with these two girls, but I'm not going to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about how Alan and Nigel share their girls with me, which is kind of special. But first, I have to tell you a physics joke, because I just love physics jokes, and I know you do too. Schrodinger's cat walks into a bar, or it doesn't. That's it. That's the entire joke. Ah, thank you. Thank you. One person got it. All right. Thank you, Al. Or they did. At any rate, the upshot of this is that I'm a cat fancier, and Nigel and Alan spotted this intuitively or something. So what does Nigel do the very first time he sees me? He has Chi in his arms, and of course, he puts her on my shoulders. Now here we have a new, small, very strong Burmese cat on the back of my head. And I'm thinking, okay, there are a couple of things that could happen, none of which I'm prepared for. None of those things happened. She just kind of wandered around, and I bent over farther and farther and farther, and eventually she walked off my back and hopped around and meowed, and I picked her up, and she did whatever she did. It was wonderful. The reason I tell you that is because these two girls are very special to Nigel and Alan. And to have the willingness to share their girls with me, I thought was very special also. So guys, thank you very much.
My guy is calling me every 2 hours about old man.
Changing laws. This segment has to do with what brought us here tonight. This has to do with probably 9 months ago, we went to Peter and Jamie's wedding in Orlando, Alan's newfound brother. In their excitement and enthusiasm, Peter introduced us, well, this is my brother Alan, and this is his husband, Nigel. In those days, still only 9 months ago, that was not a possibility. Peter, and your enthusiasm really dug deep in my heart. But it was something we could not think about. It was something we could not dream about. To dream in that area was just too painful. I've traveled 3 continents: Africa, Australia, and now the USA. I'd never dreamed that the USA would be the continent where the laws would change such that the man I love, after 12 years, we could actually unite in marriage. For those of you who probably don't understand, or maybe you do, but the significance of this, there were 2 laws which prevented us from doing this. The one was at the federal level of the USA, for those people who've traveled from afar, which prohibited from an immigration point of view. Well, let me back up one. Marriage in the USA is a state-based issue. In South Africa and Australia, it's federal-based. But in the USA, it's state-based. So the state of California in 2008, through a Mormon-sponsored proposition, of all things, for God's sakes, had actually prohibited and banned same-sex marriage in 2008. That meant that people of the same sex who loved each other and wanted to be united could not be married. That proposition was challenged at every single level of the courts in the USA till it came to Supreme Court in July this year. June the 26th this year. At the same time, DOMA, or Defense of Marriage Act, which was enacted with Bill Clinton when he was still in power, was a knee-jerk reaction to the state of Hawaii was about to introduce same-sex legislation. So he at the federal level had a knee-jerk reaction, which our government in Australia, John Howard, rammed through emergency legislation only a few weeks later to prohibit same-sex marriage in both the USA and the 52nd state of the USA called Australia at the same time. It was actually outrageous. Canada, of course, being the 51st state, and they ignored it. So the significance of today is very, very much close to our hearts. That in the when DOMA and Proposition 8 were overturned. In June this year, one day after the first of all, on the Tuesday, Proposition 8 was overturned in the Supreme Court would not hear the argument and referred it back down to the Ninth Circuit Court of California, or the Ninth Circuit Court of the West Coast, and they had already said this is non-constitutional, so therefore the whole thing crumbled. And the following day, on the Wednesday, the Supreme Court of the United States of America said that DOMA, Defense of Marriage Act, is non-constitutional, it breaches our Constitution, therefore was thrown out. It was those 2 days, once in a row, which says that we can finally think about marriage of same sex. Up till that point, Alan and I had not even considered it. When you live in a world controlled by rules and regulations of petty tyrants and religious conservatives, which dictate to you how you should think or can think, it becomes too hard sometimes to dream the impossible dream. But we never stop dreaming, and thank God that this happened, and you guys here today are witness to the changing tide of times. I thank you very much, and I love you all for being here. Thank you.
And we're going to end on a very favorite of mine. It's deep, it's profound. Hit it. It's a beautiful night. We're looking for something fun to do. Hey baby, I think I want to marry you. Take a look in your eyes, or is it the dancing shoes?
you. It's
Oh my
amazing. The night of the Supreme Court decisions, Marshall Michelle came up to our apartment and we had a drink to celebrate the decisions. And Michelle, in her usual fashion, just said, "You're getting married!" And we said, "No, we're not!" And then they left, but before I get to that part, there was about 2 weeks earlier or so, Nigel there was a spiritual medium that was in town visiting from the UK, who we had never met before, and Nigel went and spoke to him, and sometimes Nigel's father comes in and speaks to him. Nigel's father passed away a few years ago, and Nigel said, "Make it worth my while. Don't waste my money. Make it worth my while." So Nigel was speaking with this medium, and he said, "Your father just came in." "Yeah, he's always here." "He's telling you that you should get married." "Are you in a relationship with a man?" "Yes, I am." "Well, your father says you really need to get married. Marry that man, he wants that." "Yeah." So, back to that night, after Marshall Michelle left, we were talking about it, and Nigel came over to me and got down on one knee and said, "Do you want to get married?" And I said, "Yes, I really do." And that was how it all happened.
Well, we've run out of gas, and we're gliding for the airport now. I think we're going to make this, but we have one last song. You may have noticed I changed clothes because my real airline has a strict rule of no drinking in uniform. Song, a special song Nigel and Alan requested from Glinda, the Good Witch.
Okay.
I propose a toast. Thank you. You have a glass? Glasses? No, yeah, I can do a microphone either way. It's gonna be quick. A toast to. Oh, beautiful, thanks.
You're my favorite person. She's everybody's favorite person.
To happiness, love, and a long life. To Nigel and Alan, our friends.
Cheers.
Love you.
Very quickly.
And Nigel, oh, go ahead.
Right, you can stay standing. We won't take long because I'm dying to go for a pee. So I want to say thanks so much to all of you, my family from all over the world, not just one continent, not one country, but all over the world. It's so wonderful to have you all here. And I'd like to give great thanks to the wonderful Captain Bruce, who actually does fly as a captain. He actually is the captain of United Airlines, believe it or not. So next time, fly United, baby. And the fabulous Kike. Isn't she wonderful, Kike? Go on. And her wonderful companion Jason on the keyboard. They are so great. Isn't it good? And of course, not forgetting the most amazing Glinda, the good witch. So thanks so much for all coming, and I think Alan would like a last word before we head off for dinner.
Well, we have dinner coming, and we're going to ask Reverend Jim to come up and ask the blessing.
Alrighty.
Reverend Jim.
Come on, Jim.
Don't make too long. I want to pee.
Make it a short prayer.
Really short.
We're gathered here in gratitude. We're grateful for this event. We're grateful for this gathering. We're grateful for this food. Thank you, thank you. Amen.
Amen.
And so it is.